In this video, I'll show you really quickly the basics of importing, and in the future we'll create a more in-depth video, but it is likely something that you might need a hand with, and we're happy to help with doing this. So if you are a admin on the Passportal account, you can import. By default, the site user permission level doesn't include import or export, but if you would like to import, you can come here. You have to import from a CSV Excel file. So you can click here to download the templates file, and I'll pull that open. So if you're importing users, you can do that with this template. And if you're importing passwords, you can do so with this template. So we'll open this one up just to show you kind of the basics. So when you get the file open here, you can open up these, and I'll kind of explain each of them very fast. So the first one is Passportal ID. So it even says in the title to leave this one blank. So don't put anything here. This is just an ID number that Passportal will give these passwords when you import them. So we'll leave that blank. Credential. This is the credential type. So if your company is using credential types, you can put that in here. If not, again, you can leave that one blank. The next one is username and password. Obviously, these ones are relatively self-explanatory. The username and the password, whether you're entering these manually or if you're bringing them over from a previous Excel sheet or from another password manager, those go here. The next is the description, and in this case, essentially the title of the password. Whether it's for your Netflix or your Office, you put the title that you want the password to be in the description field. Expires, yes or no. Most of the time, this is a no, unless you have a password that has to be reset every 3 months or so. For the most part, you can just put no and put that for all of them. Notes is pretty self-explanatory. If there are any notes that you would like to have added to the credential, you can do so here. The URL field is important to have filled out, but you may not yet. You can still import them and then add the URLs later as you use the passwords if you would like to. But if you have a lot of passwords, some of which you use, some of which you don't, and you don't have URLs, this is where we recommend saving the passwords as you use them rather than importing a bunch of passwords without a URL, because they won't come up by default on the website anyways. And then the last one is folder. It says optional, so you can leave that one blank. If you have a specific folder that certain ones are supposed to go into, you can put the name there, but you have to be really careful and make sure that it's really specific, otherwise it'll have problems. So I would recommend uploading them all and then moving them as needed once they're uploaded. So once you've selected that, you can select the file and bring it in here, and then you would import them here. So you just hit import my vault passwords and it will start the password import. You can also export data from Passportal. If you want to export your users, your company vault, or your vault, you can do so. You can select whether or not you want to include disabled items. So when you're not using a password, you would disable it. It doesn't delete it, it just disables it. And so you can still export those if you want to see old passwords or whatever. And so once you've selected those options, you can export here, and you'll get a file, a CSV, that has all of your passwords, the username, and the URLs. Importing is usually only a straightforward process when you're importing from an export from another password manager. If you have a physical or digital password master list that you use to sign in, we recommend continuing to use that list. And as you sign into them, you save them into your Passportal, and relatively quickly, you should have all of the passwords that you use on a regular basis entered into your Passportal.